So I have a question. So you mentioned the both room, soul. So you were saying that the room and the nafs are same? Because as I understood from the how you described this now. Maybe you can clarify it.
Okay, when we talk about the nafs, in the Quran, the nafs refers to the desires. The nafs can also refer to the soul, and the nafs can also refer to the person. But otherwise, we say that a ruh is a spiritual entity. When it is joined to the body, it becomes nafs. The ruh is a spiritual entity which Allah created, which gives life. And when it enters the body, then it is called a nafs. Okay? And besides that, of course, a nafs means desires and so on, and also means the self. Yeah. And then we talked about when we talk about the three different levels of the nafs, we are talking about what you call the different spiritual levels of the individual, or of his soul, of his heart and soul.
So you mentioned muraqabah. What is that?
Muraqabah is God consciousness. God, that means that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is feeling that Allah is always watching over you. And this comes from ihsan, al-ihsan. Because remember, when the Prophet ﷺ in the hadith of Iman, he was asked by Jibreel. And the Prophet ﷺ replied, what is ihsan? That you worship Allah as though you see Him. If you cannot see Him, then know that He sees you. So that's God consciousness. That God, what He calls, is always observing your actions, al-muraqabah. And the perfection of muraqabah, of course, leads to the perfection of taqwa. And it is the door to the special knowledge of Allah, al-ma'rifah.
So just now you mentioned regarding knowledge, right? Don't embark on anything except until you have acquired the knowledge.
Do not what?
Do not embark upon anything until you have some knowledge about it, right?
Yes.
So how do we deal with situations where it's something which we've never encountered before? So what do we do then? So we stay, okay, hold on for a minute, I've got to go back and study a little bit.
Yes, you have to. If you come across a situation whereby you don't know how to do it, and you don't know the judgment pertaining to it, you got to ask the people, ask the people of knowledge if you do not have what you call, if you do not know. Alright, so that is a necessity. That is a necessity. And knowledge here is not only for you to know what is right and what is wrong, or how to do something in the correct way. Knowledge also enhances the quality of your actions. With knowledge, you also increase in reward. Because if you have knowledge, you can make multiple intentions. You can make multiple intentions when you have knowledge, right? And so you intend all those things based on knowledge. So knowledge is essential in all this. So it's always knowledge first, then action. Yeah. And then of course, then we have to examine our actions as we have talked about, to ensure that we do them, sincerely and correctly, and to perfect our intentions. Don't forget that the Prophet ﷺ, he said, Allah has prescribed ihsan for each and everything. Everything, the Prophet said, Allah has made ihsan in it obligatory. And al-ihsan has got three meanings. Okay? The first meaning which we have talked about is God consciousness, right? Muraqabah, we said. The second meaning is to perfect it. Ihsan is equals to itqan. Okay? That's why the Messenger ﷺ, he said, when you are slaughtering, make sure you do it properly. sharpen your knife and so on, in the 40 hadith. Yes. So second is the perfection of deed, which is not possible without knowledge. And thirdly, ihsan means to do good. To do good. And that's the purpose of knowledge. To do good.
The question is
Yes.
does this applies to academic knowledge as well, what we learn? And also what's the is there a balance to more spiritual knowledge?
Alright, firstly, there's a narration from Sayyidina Ali. We are not able to ascribe it as being a narration from the Prophet ﷺ, but we know who Sayyidina Ali ibn Abi Talib was. He was with the Prophet ﷺ from a very young age, and therefore what he said was definitely from the teachings of the Prophet ﷺ. And he said, whoever seeks the world, he must have knowledge. Man arada dunya fa alayhi bil ilm. Whoever wants akhirah, who seeks akhirah, he must have knowledge. Whoever wants وَمَنْ أَرَادَهُمَا مَعًا فَعَلَيْهِ بِعِلْمٍ. Whoever wants both the dunya and the akhirah, he must have knowledge. Okay. And in Islam, there is no distinction between the two. The knowledge of the world is also a vehicle to seeking the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is the intention that matters. But we should not become like those whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, يَعْلَمُونَ ظَاهِرًا مِنَ الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا وَهُمْ عَنِ الْآخِرَةِ هُمُ الْغَافِلُونَ. That they only know the outward things about this worldly life, but when it comes to the hereafter, they are totally unmindful. Or as He says, ذَلِكَ مَبْلَغُ مِنْ الْعِلْمِ. That's the only knowledge that they possess. No. So we need spiritual knowledge. We also need knowledge with regard to the worldly things. So when a student goes to school and he is pursuing what is now known as the academic sciences, because we have separated the two, alright, because of the system of education. When he goes there with a noble intention, even if the intention is only that he would be able to earn a livelihood, to be self-sufficient and to provide for his dependents, or to do more to help the poor and the less fortunate, even then he is on the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it all boils down again to intentions. If he goes and he learns a language, for example, language is the vehicle of da'wah, of preaching. So if that is his intention, then he is on the spiritual path. He still would gain reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And many of these worldly sciences are essential. So you find the early scholars, they learned everything. You know, you probably already know, the Muslims were pioneers in many of these scientific fields. Whether it's sociology, whether it's philosophy, whether it is, philosophy, whether it's optics, in the field of optics, even in music also they have, we had great scholars, astronomy, in medicine, right? And the West has acknowledged it, that they were the pioneers in their fields. Where did we get algebra from? If it's not from algebra, it's from the Muslims, from algebra and so on and so forth. So the early scholars, they excelled in all these sciences because all knowledge comes from God. All knowledge is a gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Yes, I have 4 questions here. Do them one by one, I guess. Is that better?
Yeah, one by one.
Okay, inshallah. So I'll combine 2 as I think they're quite similar. First one is for these 2 was related to. So this is how the question goes. Assalamualaikum. How often should we seek knowledge while we're struggling to practice what we've learned? Should we stop seeking knowledge until we practice what we've learned previously? And the second one, which is, I think is quite close to this as well. Assalamualaikum, I'm a PhD student. I want to ask, how can I keep my motivation and spirit in seeking knowledge? This journey is quite tough for me. Look a lot there.
You see, treat the seeking of knowledge as a spiritual pursuit. Knowledge as a spiritual pursuit. When you come to a gathering of knowledge, coming to a gathering of knowledge is a great ibadah, a great act of worship. And you have narrations pertaining to that. Is better than visiting 70 poor people, is better than, and so on and so forth. Visiting 76 people, sick people who are sick, attending to 70 janazas, and so on and so forth. So attending a gathering of knowledge and seeking knowledge is a great act of worship, as we have heard just now. Our Imam Haddad had said. The effort to practice all that we know is a continual effort until we leave the face of this earth, until our last breath. It has to be a continuous strive to want to practice the knowledge that we have learned and to perfect that practice. And as I mentioned just now, the attainment of knowledge is also continual from the cradle to the grave. Talking about a struggle, you have a struggle because maybe you are doing some thesis, you are a PhD student, and you have to spend a lot of time reading and so on and so forth. I said that if your intentions in pursuing an academic science is sincere, then that is also part of ibadah. That's also part of worship. But of course, that doesn't mean that you can ignore the obligations of the religion. You cannot. You still have to. You have to perform your prayers and so on and so forth. The obligatory duties, there is no excuse no matter how busy you are. But surely if we plan our time, and this is one of the essentials of the spiritual path, that you plan your time. In fact, if you read, for example, say Bidayatul Hidayah by Imam Al-Ghazali, that's the first thing he talks about, or the second thing, that you have to plan your time. You have to allot to everything a specific time. So you have to say, this is the time I've allotted to seeking knowledge. Right? Then if you do that, then you will find the time. But the problem is we don't do that. All of a sudden we feel like doing this, we do that, we do this. And we feel like doing that, and we do that. So we do not have, or shall we say, we are not disciplined. And therefore we do not have a specific timetable. So we always end up missing out on doing what we want to do. And then we say, I do not have enough time. Actually, it's not we do not have enough time. It's because we are not disciplined enough and we have not planned our daily activities.
Thank you, sir. The next question will be, how do you purify your intentions? Especially some more since intentions is based upon knowledge. So what's that?
Well, everybody knows. That's why we said three things. What am I doing? You know what you are doing. Of course, you need basic knowledge about rights and wrong, haram and halal. You need that, of course. Then you can answer that question. What am I doing? Why am I doing it? Of course you know why you are doing it. What are your motivations? Definitely. What you want to attain and what you want to achieve. Man knows well, very well. He knows his own motives, his own intentions, he knows. Okay? And whenever we do something which is wrong, we say in English, well, the conscience pricks us. Yeah, that is the fitrah that we have. We have this fitrah, this pure nature, because the soul is from God, right? So we know. It's not possible that we do not know why we are doing it. When it comes to how I am doing it, yes, you need knowledge. For which reason we said that before you embark upon something, you got to know how to do it. So that you perform it in the right manner.
This is the fourth question. What should I do, or how do I find the right teacher if I'm interested in Islam, especially if I'm a non-Muslim? What should I do then? Because especially when there's a lot of material available online, offline. So what's the right way for me to approach learning about Islam?
Well, that's a difficult question to answer. It's a dilemma which most people face. Well, always there are people in a particular society who are known and recognized as qualified scholars who will teach you Islam as it is. Okay. Then you should take them as a point of guidance. Yes, there is a lot of material available online, lots of talks and so on. Then it's encouraged that you should consult those people who you know as recognized authorities in your place, in your country, and ask them which of these websites are reliable, whose talks I should listen to. This is extremely important. But whatever it is, the internet cannot be a substitute for learning from a teacher. Islam places great importance on acquiring knowledge from a teacher. Acquiring it directly from a teacher, which is a talaqi. And that's why in Islam we have what is known as the al-isnad or the sanad. Meaning that the teacher must have acquired knowledge from a recognized teacher, and he would have acquired it from a recognized teacher all the way, and it would go right up to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. In fact, in Islam, nothing which was transmitted is recognized until you can establish the sanad. And so whenever they could not establish the sanad, they will say, well, we cannot attribute this to the Prophet ﷺ because we can't find the links. There's a break in the link, and you know that there's a classification of narrations and so on and so forth. So that is extremely important. Although yes, you can use many of these online tools to help you in learning. But at the end of the day, the teacher is indispensable.
So there's one more question. If you could be so kind to teach us a simple dua on seeking knowledge.
Well, there are many du'as. You can do du'as in any language. The most important thing in du'a, when you do du'as, is that you are in a state of desperation, a state of humility, meaning that you really want it and you are sincere in your asking. That's the most important. The next important thing is, do du'as at times when du'as are answered. You know, for example, du'a between adhan and iqamah is answered. You know it's good to do du'a when you're doing sujood. Or it's good to do du'a after your, tashahhud, before you do salams in prayer. And so on and so forth. It is good to do du'a at the last third of the night before Fajr when you pray. So choose the right times for du'a and do du'a with your heart in a state of humility and desperation and sincerity, and your dua will be answered. And Allah understands all languages. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala understands all languages. Alright? So it is the state of the heart, its connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when you are asking, rather than the wording of the dua itself or the language of the dua itself. And the simplest dua in the Quran, as we mentioned just now, Rabbi zidni ilman. Rabbi zidni